Okay, we're going to learn today how to make two different kinds of drawings in Google Draw. First thing you do, click on New. We should be used to that by now. Go to More and click Google Drawings. This opens up a platform where you can create a drawing. The main parts of most drawings are the shapes. So to find the shapes, you go into this little icon here, and we're going to actually make a snowman. Oh, this reminds me of Frozen. But anyhow, we go to shapes, look for a shape that's similar to what you want, and we're going to start with an oval here for snowman. That's going to be his base. Now I'm going to go and make another circle for the middle part of the snowman. And actually, let me make that a little bit bigger. And then as I move this around, you see those red lines that pop up? That indicates the relationship in terms of positioning between the two objects that are on the screen, the two circles. That long red line in the center means that they are, if I let go now, they are lined up on the center. And that should look good. I want to move those down a little bit, so I'm going to just drag and highlight both of them and move them down a little bit. Okay, let me put another one in there for the head, another little circle. And there he is. Actually, you know what might be cute? I'm going to delete that by hitting the delete button while it's selected. And I'm going to actually, I believe there is a face. There it is. Let me use that for the face. Cool. When I click on this, I can drag this down a little bit in order to reposition things. The other thing I notice, I want my snowman to be white. So while holding down the control button, I can click on additional objects, and then I can go in and change the coloring. This little one that looks like a bucket, that is the fill color. That just changes the inside of a shape. So I'm going to click on that and choose white. Now he looks like a snowman. Now I want to make some little black coal buttons on it. Again, I'm going to use these circles and just make them. And that circle I want to fill in with black, so I use my fill color and pick black. And now let me put in another little circle. And I'm going to fill him in with black. Okay, now I want to draw the sticks for the arms. So I'm going to come over here to the lines. And I have different choices. I can make a straight line, a line that has an arrowhead on one end. These connectors, we'll look at that later when we do a flow chart. But the one I want to use is scribble. That's like free drawing. Now I also want, let's see, I'll go, that sort of looks like a stick. But let me go in and change the color. So I come up here to this line color, and I'm going to look for the closest thing I have to brown. I can use this to make it thicker or thinner. See how 4 looks. It looks pretty good. Now those are the settings that it's going to use for the new lines that I draw too. So I'll just draw some little twigs here. Make it look like the twigs that we use. And we're making, oh, this poor guy. His elbow looks a little sore, but that's okay. Now he still needs a hat. So I'm going to go back to the shapes. I'm going to pick a rectangle to make the base of his hat. And now again, you're seeing these lines that show up. This red line now is showing that if I let go, I'm aligned with the edge of his head. Let me make this one black. And the stove top for his, I guess stovepipe is the right word. There, that looks like a hat. Well, let me move it down a little bit. To move it down, again, I go over here to this arrow. That's what allows me to select things and move things. I'm going to move it down a little bit. Can you see my red line there? Now, actually, I want that to be behind the rest of him, so I have to find the Arrange. Click on the Arrange, Order, and I'm going to send it to the back. You should recognize this as being very similar to the ones you would use in the text documents. Okay, so there's my little Santa Claus. Not Santa Claus, snowman. So there's my little snowman. And that's all there is to doing a drawing. If I want to add text, I can click on this little T here and put in the text message. My first snowman. We can use this to put in a title or any kind of information. While I'm in there, I can change my font. I can change my font size. Move this out just like a text box. A lot of this is just like when we were working in the slideshows. Some of you have called slideshows PowerPoint, even though they're Google Slides. The actual term is slideshow, not PowerPoint. Notice that down here, if I need to make this bigger, I can use this little corner here to drag and change the size of my drawing pad. So if you need more or less space. And that's all there is to it. Okay, I'm going to give this a name. My snowman. Yeah. And now I'll show you a more sophisticated type of drawing that we sometimes do. In computer science, in programming in particular, we often do what's called a flow chart. And that is just a set of instructions, a graphical illustration of the order in which we want the program to execute instructions. Now, if you want to learn how to program, we have a really nice course, CTCH 1330, Intro to Computer Programming. I would love to see you all in that class. But when you do, you may have to create drawings, and this is how you would do a flow chart. Again, we'll start New, More, Google Drawing. Now, as I said, a flow chart is a set of instructions that tells the computer or shows how we're going to write code to tell the computer what to do step by step. And there are very specific symbols that you use in a flow chart, and those symbols represent what type of operation it is. So now when I go into my shapes, I come down here, these are flowchart shapes. In fact, when I cursor over them, you can see it says flowchart : and indicates what type of instruction it is. This oval is a terminal symbol, and we use that at the beginning to indicate the start of the program. And in there, I have to put text, so I'm right-clicking on there and saying Edit Text. Now, this is different than the text I added for the title of my snowman, because this text is actually in the symbol or the shape, where the other one, when I used that box with a T in it, that was just to make text just on the page, not associated with an object. I also like to center my text always in the flowchart symbols. And I like to make the backgrounds white. So I'm going to go in here and make the backgrounds white. Now I need a few more other symbols. I'm going to get two numbers and add them together and display the output. This type of symbol I use to get input is this skewed parallelogram. And notice now that this is indicating it's the same height as the start command and the same width. Well, the width is okay, but generally my height's going to be a little bit bigger on these inputs. I'm going to format it to be white. I'm going to add text, and this text is just going to be get X, because I'm going to call my numbers X and Y. Again, I always like to center the code in here. Now I want to do the same thing to get Y. The only thing I'm going to change is the letter in there, so I'm going to copy this. Now you can't see this, but I just, while that was selected, hit Control D. D stands for duplicate, and it gave me another copy exactly the same, and I can just go in there and change that to say Y. Now the next thing I have to do is add those two together, and operations where we are doing arithmetic use a rectangle. Again, I can see when I'm the same size as my other shapes by looking at those little blue lines. I'm going to change this to white, and my text in here is going to be, let's say, sum equal x plus Y. And I'm just picky enough that I want to put an enter in here and then center all of this. It just looks so much nicer. Well, I want to center this one too. It just looks better. All right, now the next thing I want to do, I want to display the sum, and then I'm done. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to click to show output. We also use the parallelogram. Look how nice those blue lines show me I've got the same size and shape. Fill this with white and put my text here to say show sum. Now, I don't like that because the show wrapped, but I do want it to be the same size. So I'm going to show you a little trick. I'm going to click in here and I'm going to take this code out of here. Don't like it. What I'm going to do instead, I'm going to make this transparent. So I go in and for my fill, I set transparent. Now I'll be able to see behind it. That allows me to take a text box, make my text box, and I'm going to paste back in there what the code was that I had. Center that. And when I put that over my box, look how nice that looks. Oops. It looks nice because when I tried to put the text inside the skewed parallelogram, the margins on the inside of the parallelogram forced that show to wrap. But by using a text box, I could make the text box bigger and then just put it on top of or behind my little parallelogram. Now I also need another terminal to show that I'm done. And there it is. So I'm going to, oops, I like that one. It's the same size as the other one. Get it a little bit higher. So now I match my little start one, move it over so everything's lined up nice. And my text in here, again, I right click, choose edit text, and I'm going to put end. And I'm going to center it. All right, almost done. The last thing we have to do is put some arrows in there. So I click on the arrow, and notice now when I have a connecting arrow, I can connect it to any of those purple dots. So I click on the one, draw down to the purple dots on the next symbol. I don't have to go dot to dot, but there's a really good reason. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Control Z to get rid of that one. I'm going to draw a few more of them while I'm clicking on these arrows. And then I'm going to show you why. Actually, let me move that. I'm going to show you why I like to do that. I click back up here on this arrow. This arrow that's pointing upwards is really just to indicate that I'm going to be moving things around. The arrow next to it is the actual draw an arrow. Because I connected those to my purple dots, look what happens when I move these objects. Those purple dots, that sounded funny. The purple dots are like glue sticks or glue dots. They glue that arrow there so that as I move this object, the end of the arrow goes with it, and that's really helpful for moving things around. So I need a few more arrows. I'm going to click on this arrow option. I'm going to use my glue dots and keep drawing arrows. Notice up, oh, I don't know if you can see, this arrow stays selected until I click on the select arrow, or I click on an object in some way to stop drawing these arrows. I'm going to draw one up there too. Actually, that's not quite how we would do it on a flow chart, but that's, for our purposes, that's good. Then I always put a heading on here. Call this one a flow chart. Put your name on things when you create them. And the date.
keeps wanting to make that into a numbered list, but that's okay. And that's all there is to it. Very simple. Then if I want, I can save this. I can select it and save it as a picture. I can copy it and paste it into a document or a spreadsheet or to a PowerPoint or whatever I wanted. And that's all there is to drawing.